This week on The Record, Election Day just around the corner. Who and what is on your ballot? Candidates and advocates running campaigns in St. Louis City and County are on the record. Plus, severe weather rips through the Midwest after DOGE slashes jobs at the Federal Forecasting Agency, stocks sliding, and the dollar dipping after President Trump launches a trade war. And due process in deportation. It's all coming up right now. Welcome to The Record. I'm Mark Maxwell. We begin an action-packed show turning first to U.S. Senator Eric Schmitt, who joins us on The Record from Washington, D.C. Senator, severe weather is top of mind for many of our viewers right now. The Trump administration, though, and the Department of Government Efficiency are implementing cuts that meteorologists warn might hurt forecasting. It eliminates jobs, cancels balloon launches. I understand you didn't vote on any of these specific cuts, but do you think they're wise given the role that forecasting can play in helping us prepare for disasters?
Well, I'm a big fan of meteorologists. I've been watching Channel 5 since I was a little kid. So thanks, even when Bob Richards was a meteorologist back in St. Louis. So I appreciate the forecasting. I think all this doom and gloom and political forecasting, though, is off base. There's a lot of reporting, not you, of course, Mark, who create these stories about these cuts that are going to have all these undefined problems, and they just don't happen. The truth is we're trying to get back to pre-pandemic level spending, where we were spending $4 trillion just back in 2019. We now spend $7 trillion 5 years later, and we take in $5 trillion. So I think these efforts are to cut out waste and fraud and abuse and to right-size government. So I don't think it's going to impact at all our ability to forecast weather as accurate as Channel 5 often is.
All right, I'll pass that note along to our weather team. We've got some political forecasting, some weather forecasting, now some economic outlook if we can. You supported President Trump's tariffs on Canada in a vote Wednesday night, but more broadly, the global trade war has contributed to rising costs, or soon could. Economists are projecting price hikes on everyday items like electronics, phones, laptops, cars. The stock market and the dollar are right now taking hits as well. Republicans are publicly acknowledging there will be short-term economic pain, but just how long will that pain last? And when do you expect prices to come down?
Well, I reject the premise. I actually think that we're entering a new phase of prosperity in this country because for the first time now we have a president that understands what Americans have known for a very long time is that we're getting ripped off around the world. Really what we're saying is we're going to treat you like you treat us. I think people have been shocked to find out the trade barriers that exist for our farmers and ranchers across the world. They've been shocked to find out that you can't sell an American car in Europe. And from my perspective, which goes a little bit deeper here, growing up in a working class neighborhood in North County, a lot of the jobs that my friends and family and neighbors had, they're just gone. Since NAFTA, 90,000 factories are gone. These jobs have been sent overseas, and the elites that have made these forecasts about how wealthy everybody's going to become have been wrong time and time again because they believe in this globalist agenda. I don't represent the international economic order. I represent people in Missouri who want good paying jobs. There's no reason in the world, Mark, why we can't have advanced manufacturing. It's one of the things we're fighting for with being a defense tech capital. There's no reason in the world why we can't sell our stuff around the world. I will also tell you that the market is responding in the sense that $5 trillion worth of investment is coming in the first 100 days. Apple's going to build their stuff here. Honda's going to now build their stuff here. Mercedes-Benz is going to build their stuff here. The chips factory from Taiwan, they're going to build their stuff here. NVIDIA, they're going to build their high-quality chips here, not overseas. So I think you're going to see investment in this country, and we're going to be an economic powerhouse. But the days of us being taken advantage of, I think, are over. The other thing I'll say here is you have to take this trade policy also as part of a larger portfolio of the things that we're doing. Making these tax cuts permanent, that'll be really important. Providing middle-class tax relief, that'll be important. Regulatory reform, being energy dominant, having a secure border where our taxpayer dollars aren't going to illegal immigrants. I think if you put all that together, along with a president who's standing up for American workers and saying we're not going to get ripped off anymore, that's the formula for success long term.
I hope to ask you about those tax cuts here in a moment, but first I want to ask you about these incidents where federal agents have recently detained multiple people here legally in the U.S. They include a PhD student in Massachusetts, a Columbia grad whose wife is 8 months pregnant. They've spoken out against Israel's actions in Gaza in protest on college campuses. There's another Maryland father in a separate case who was deported due to what the Trump administration now calls an administrative error. Does the First Amendment's protection of speech and association extend to all legal residents And do you believe this administration fully upholds due process rights?
I do. I think a lot of the examples that you're giving, though, are much more complicated than you've laid out. When people are here as a guest, they're not citizens. They're not citizens of this country. And their temporary visas or their guest permits or whatever can be revoked, and people can be sent away. And that's what Marco Rubio is doing. He's saying people have lied on their applications about what their activities are. I believe people can speak their mind. There's no question about that. But you don't get to shut down buildings. You don't get to build encampments and limit other people's access to those buildings and hold classes. You don't get to do those things. So I think that really what we're getting at here is a mass deportation effort. When we had 15 to 20 million people come here illegally, including a million people, at least a million people who are here who are hardened criminals. And so if you're part of a gang, if you're part of MS-13, if you've been terrorizing people and cutting their fingers off and raping and murdering people, you're going to go. And that's been the focus of these efforts. So if there are individual cases that need to be addressed, I think this administration has shown they're willing to do it. But I also think the press is tripping all over itself to find some example out there that ultimately, upon further investigation, turns out not to be true, including, I think maybe one of the examples you're given here where the father, he was portrayed as a father who was actually a member of a violent gang. Those people need to be deported, and the American people support that.
We ran out of time in our limited exchange with the senator there, but we should correct the record before we move on. Senator Schmidt suggested that 29-year-old Kilmar Abrego Garcia was in fact a gang member. Court records contradict that claim. Judges granted Abrego Garcia legal protection from deportation. DHS issued him a work permit. He was only now deported due to an administrative error. Schmidt and Vice President J.D. Vance's claims that he belonged to MS-13 apparently stem from an anonymous confidential informant who made an unverified claim about a New York chapter of that gang, a state he never lived in. In 2019, under the first Trump term, U.S. immigration authorities never appealed to contest his protected status. His lawyers provided extensive evidence disputing that gang affiliation. Schmidt's insinuation lacks substantiation and misrepresents a wrongful deportation that has so far left a 5-year-old without his father. We're back in a moment. It's the $500,000 question on your ballot on Tuesday. For St. Louis County voters, it's called Proposition B, and it would give the county council a lot more power to fire people like my next guest, who is one of the department heads in County Executive Sam Page's administration, Courtney Whiteside, who heads up the St. Louis County Municipal Courts. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What's at stake if voters adopt Prop B? We heard county executives say B is bad.
That's a great question. So I think some things at stake, we have to take into account the future of St. Louis County as well. I think it would lead to a somewhat chaotic environment. Under one leader, we have a singular mission, and the directors, we have a group of very talented directors, and we are all sharing the same mission. And if we have 8 people with 8 different missions, it will really make it very difficult to continue to provide the same level of service to St. Louis County residents that we do today.
We have heard from members of the county council, though, who have expressed displeasure and frustration with some department heads or with County Executive Page in wanting to get more information, more testimony. What do you think is the source of that frustration?
A lack of communication. I think in a lot of instances, people look at things differently. They have different opinions, and that can create communication challenges. And they're not insurmountable, but it's going to take time and work together to overcome those challenges.
Is it your view that department heads do have a responsibility to show up and testify before the county council when asked?
I think more importantly that our responsibility to the people of St. Louis County, which the people on the council represent. So through that, yes. And I think that when we do that, that is the public's opportunity and the council's opportunity to look at the good works that we are doing. And if they want to weigh in, that's their opportunity to do that as well.
We turn now to the other side of the table for the other side of the issue. County Councilwoman Shalonda Webb joining us. Thank you for coming in studio.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
What's at stake if the county votes down Prop B? What would happen?
What will be at stake is ensuring that we have checks and balances in St. Louis County to have good governance. We have worked as best as possible to be able to have some working relationship with the county executive and the directors. And now we're put in a situation where there will be no checks and balances if we don't have this charter amendment. And so I'm just wanting to know, why is it good enough for all of the other counties in Missouri and some St. Louis counties, but not good enough for the actual St. Louis County?
But I think that the point that they're making is that if every one of the members of the board can come together and assert political pressure over one individual director or another, that it creates a confusing system. Or who's really in charge of whom? Does the executive really have control of its department heads if you can come in and organize a coup? And for example, the county councilor, Dana Red Wing, would be one of the people that you would have power over. Is this a continuation of that ongoing fight?
No, it's not. And that's what we're trying to stop, Mark. Working there every day and being under the hood, the political pressure that the county exec applies is unbearable when we're trying to get the work done. And we just want to give people the opportunity to be balanced.
All right, in the last 15 seconds we have here, sum it up for voters at home who want to know what's in it for me if I vote for Prop B.
What's in it for you if you vote for Prop B is to make sure that all of our communities get the service of excellence that they deserve. Let's take example, derelict properties. We've been trying to tear down those properties for 3 years almost, 2 to 3 years now. We want to work with our department heads to actually start that process and complete it. That's been on Dr. Page's desk for several years. We've had to take back the ARPA funds, defederalize them, now try to reappropriate them for them to execute the job. We want to make sure, as a person at home, that you can make sure that these people do their job. That's all we want. We want you to do your job, work with integrity, and work with the council. One thing that I would like to say, and I've heard this from previous directors who's no longer here, and you know, there have been challenges and directors have left on their own cognizance. And what they saw over their 10, 15, 20, 25 year career was that when we served as directors before this administration, we knew that we worked for the executive branch, but we served all 3 branches equally, making sure that we provided them what they needed in a timely manner and with full disclosure.
All right, County Councilwoman Shalonda Webb, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Could she run for county executive against Sam Page? The answer to that question and a lot more up on KSDK.com right now. Plus, tune into the free 5+ app tomorrow night to see an expanded full version of this episode. We're back in a moment with St. Louis City politics. On Tuesday, voters across St. Louis head out to the polls to cast their ballots and decide who will decide the future of St. Louis. One of those contested races is in North City's 11th Ward. Joining us now is the challenger seeking to unseat Alderwoman Laura Keyes, and she is Rebecca McLeod, joining us on the record. Your maiden voyage. I know you were just out knocking doors.
Yes.
Making your way in studio. We thank you for making the time. What's at stake in this ward, in this race?
Right now, what's at stake is our neighborhood. And not only our neighborhood, what's at stake is actually our business owners. We definitely need the, sorry, I just got real nervous.
You're doing good. You're talking about business owners. What's at stake for them? You said you definitely need.
We definitely need the resources. We used to always fight for the money. Now the money is here in the city. Now what we need to fight on is unity. We need to collaborate together. We need to work together so we can actually revitalize and rebuild our neighborhood.
How do you grade what went down in the fight over the Rams money?
Oh, wow. I wasn't present, you know, on the House floor with the Rams budget, but I was able to actually see the video. And I really believe with the Board of Aldermen, we actually have to come together as one. We have to come together and know that this money is not our money, it's the constituents' money. And we have to actually move fast, because the more and more we delay in getting those finances out, more people are being hurt by that.
You talk about unity, and I'm just curious, as someone who covers and observes City Hall, are there members of the Board of Aldermen right now who you would say, I've got an alliance with those people, I would come in with some version of unity with them? Are there people like that?
Yes, there are people on the Board of Aldermen that I do socialize with. I'm new to the political arena, but I'm not new to advocating. For the aldermen personnel that I actually spoken with, definitely cannot wait to work with them side by side so we can get the ball rolling.
All right, Rebecca McLeod, running for Alderman in the 11th Ward. Thank you for joining us.
No problem, thank you.
And voters will elect the mayor of St. Louis Tuesday. A new poll out last weekend shows Alderwoman Kara Spencer with a big 24-point lead over incumbent Mayor Tashara Jones. We'll stream those results live as they come in here on 5 on Your Side. And be sure to check out our Voters Guide, where we have full interviews from key races across the city. You can text the word GUIDE to 314-425-5355. We'll send a link to that guide right to your phone. Let's turn right now to the other candidate in that race in Ward 11, the incumbent, Alderwoman Laura Keyes, also joins us now on the record. Good to have you with us.
It's great to be here.
I want to ask you about the future of the city. Should you be reelected to this ward in Midtown, stretching up to North City, what would be in it for the voters? If they reelect you, what are they getting out of it?
Well, I think that they're getting exactly what they asked for. They asked for an attentive alderperson. I am feet on the street every single day. I am not posted up downtown at City Hall, as you may well know. I do home visits. I am accessible. My cell phone never turns off. And so I'm concentrating on being the alderman that I never had. And so that's what I want to continue to give to the voters here in the 11th Ward.
You came in the void that was left behind by that wake of corruption that swept through City Hall after the feds brought some indictments there. And then now there's been the questions around the distribution of ARPA money in North City.
Yes.
And there's the future of the Rams money. Do you feel that the public trusts the process right now as it is?
I think that we've got a long way to go before we'll, or the public will feel like they can trust the process. Some bugs have got to be worked out. We know that mistakes were made, but I think that there's nothing that we can't really get past, but we've got to work together. All of the divisiveness that we continue to experience in city government is hampering our progress. And we definitely want to move our city forward. For our 11th Ward, especially, you know, we want to move forward. We can't continue to focus on, you know, what didn't work. We've got to take a look at what does work.
As it happens, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the last times I saw you in person was that morning of the Rams vote that we thought was going to happen, and you were having a bit of a moment.
Yeah.
If you remember, you seemed to be bracing for what was about to happen. I don't know if you had a crystal ball that day, but my goodness, that was quite the meltdown. What happened on the floor there, and how can you, talking about public trust, what's in the future of the Rams bill for the 11th Ward?
Well, I would hope that not only for the 11th Ward, but for North City as a whole, that we would really begin to see more of the things that were promised. You know, the North Corridor of our city has suffered a lot of decades of neglect. And while there have been a number of things that have transpired that have been positive, I don't think they've been talked up quite enough. But I think that, again, we've got to get past the divisiveness and really begin to be forward thinking and forward moving.
In the 30 seconds we have here, I want to know, how do you explain to any voters who might ask you, if my alderman votes present, takes a walk on it, and doesn't
Sure.
vote for or against something decisively, how do you explain that?
Well, there could be a number of things. You know, unfortunately, we do sometimes have to go to the to the restroom. You know, we get emergency calls. We're human beings. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're not. If you're not present in the room, it doesn't mean that you're not for or against something. It may have just happened at a time where something else may have been at play or going on.
We look forward to catching up with you after Tuesday night's results, perhaps more coverage to come. Alderwoman Laura Keys, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
We're back
Thank
in a
you.
moment. It's that time of the week we check the record, and this week it's a new entry into the record books, if you will. Senator Cory Booker delivering the longest known speech in recorded history on the floor of the U.S. Senate. After more than 24 hours unbroken, the New Jersey Democrats surpassed this guy, the previous record set by Strom Thurmond, who stood in 1957 to filibuster civil rights proposals. Beyond the historic symbolism behind Booker's record-setting 25-hour speech, he took aim at modern-day issues too, squarely criticizing President Donald Trump's inventive uses of executive power.
He's invoking the Alien Enemies Act. He's evoking the Alien Enemies Act, an act from the 1700s to deny due process, which Anton Scalia, a textualist, says that whether you're born in this country or not, you have due process here. If someone is willing to violate the Constitution, for some, it endangers the constitutional rights for us all. Do not think this is, those people. If they are violating rights of some, it is a threat to the rights of all.
Democrats looking for a leader on the national stage. Remember, he ran for president before. Perhaps he'll do it again. That does it for us this week. Until the same time next week, we're off the record.